Hey everyone, this is Sean Garrett, founding attorney of Garrett PLLC and founder of the Legal Eagle podcast. As you know, my goal with this podcast is not to brain dump complex business law and tax concepts, but instead, I'm here to highlight some of the entrepreneurs and business leaders in the communities that I serve. I'm licensed to practice law in North Carolina, South Carolina, Illinois, and Missouri. So many of the stories that we'll be hearing are going to be coming from Charlotte, Raleigh, Greenville, Chicago, and St. Louis. Today, we have Joe Driscoll with Krsor, LLC. Joe, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sean. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. You and I have been chatting about your business for about a year now, a little over a year. Tell the listeners a little bit about Krsor. What is Krsor?
Yeah, so Krsor, it's spelled Krsor, is an online platform that connects people who are traveling with people who want to ship things. So the idea is to monetize unused transport capacity in people's vehicles while saving money on shipping.
I'm going to get a little granular there in a minute, but what does the name mean and why did you choose that spelling?
Yeah, good question. So it is a play on the word cursor, Cursor, which means it's an Old English word that means courier or messenger or footman, something like that. But that was kind of the idea, right? It was to use a word that meant something behind what we saw cursor being. But also when I looked up that URL, it was already taken. So we decided to play around with it and find something that was catchy, unisyllabic, and easy to remember.
And as I sit here and think about it, and as you explain it, I kind of imagine different cursors from your computer moving around the U.S. Is there any of that behind the name as well?
Not really. No, kind of
Okay.
different usage of cursor, but I mean, in
Sure.
a manner of speaking, yeah, just because we're in an online platform, so yeah, we want to point the person to a location. So yeah, that's one way to think about it.
I love it. Where'd you get the idea? Where did this come from?
Yeah. So it actually came to me around 2012. So I was a geo bachelor. My job was here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and that contract changed. All the positions moved to Northern Virginia. So it was, either lose my job or keep the job that I loved and just have to be a geo bachelor. So I had to drive back and forth every week or two. So 6 hours on the road. And that was back during the last time when gas prices were up around $4 per gallon. So I was thinking about different ways to defray that cost of travel. And as I was driving up and down the roads, I thought, my vehicle is mostly empty. Every single one of these other vehicles is mostly empty. And surely there's somebody who needs to transport something to where I'm going from where I'm coming from, or vice versa. So that's when I thought about it. And I really started thinking about it. The problem with what I was going through back then was that I had no business background. I was a defense contractor, had no business expertise, and really had no idea how to launch the idea. So I thought about it for years, and then eventually went to business school to shore up that business acumen and understanding. And was on the entrepreneurship track. This is at UNC Chapel Hill at Keenan Flagler Business School. And fortunately, I had an entrepreneurship professor in Ted Zoller who was the one who, when I pitched it to him, he was like, "Hey, I think you got something here." And that wasn't even the top entrepreneurship, startup idea that I had, but he picked it out and he said, "Yeah, I think there's something to this. You need to run with it." So I did.
Awesome. Well, congrats on, putting your money where your mouth is and going back to business school and getting that acumen. And
Sure.
having a blessing on multiple ideas and whittling down to one is tremendous. Let's get into some of the granular concepts of, startup life. So you've got your idea. Tell us about finding a developer. A lot of the businesses that I work with, we're looking stateside, we're looking international. I don't want you to give up all your secret sauce, but what were some of the conversations you were having with yourself as you were doing this?
Yeah, for sure. So, as I mentioned, it's an online platform. So I wanted to figure out the best way to get it online and get it out into people's hands. So I was thinking, website, I was thinking, apps, but at the time I was going through the Launch Chapel Hill accelerator and just happened to be matched up with somebody, an app developer who was looking to develop apps for startups in the local area. I got really lucky with him. Prior to that, I was looking, as you said, overseas, looking at, in the Philippines, Central and South America, and found, possible people, but one, it was difficult to measure their abilities. Yes, they were more cost effective, but it was kind of a crapshoot. It was not easy. I would have had to have months of time with this person and hundreds, thousands of dollars of investment before I could really determine whether or not they were any good. I'm blessed with having a background in software development. So working with a software company, so I was fortunate to know a little bit about what it took to vet developers. So I had that in my back pocket, and was able to leverage that. But it's really, I think, kind of like trying to find investors. You want to find somebody who is a good fit, who sees the vision, understands the vision. Obviously, work ethic, like anybody who you're working with, is important. And this particular app developer that I found is an iOS developer, but he is just a rock star. He saw the vision, he loved it. Paid him up front. Now he's in it for equity. But just really killing it. And so he was able to get us our iOS app out on the App Store as of the 2nd of January of this year.
Awesome. Well, congrats on going live. And you answered a question I wasn't going to ask you, but I was going to throw out there in terms of compensation. As you know, and as I advise, when it comes to these developers or when you're adding strategic partners to your team, you can pay them in the startup world with either equity or cash. And it sounds like you used a middle ground between the two. I don't want to get too deep into that because that's, your business is interworking.
Right.
So just tossing that out there for the listeners. But another thing I want to throw out there, and again, not necessarily anything for you to answer, but once you have that app developed or that website developed, that then becomes an asset of your business, and that then becomes it adds a ton of value to your business because behind the scenes you've got algorithms, you've got know-how, you've got IP that is it's been developed for you and your business intentionally. And so ensuring that whoever's listening, if you're doing this yourself and you're bootstrapping, intellectual property transfer agreements, that's the document that transfers whatever that asset is from whoever developed it or owns it currently to the business. So keep that in mind. And again, I'm going to protect the sanctity of your business by not diving too further into that. But yeah, so how are things going? Strategic partnerships, how are things going with Krsor as of now?
Yeah, so going well. We're continuing to press forward with the technological side of things. The iOS app, is continually being developed and improved, and different features and things like that. On the website side, you were asking about developers. That's been more of a challenge. It's been really difficult for us to find web developers that are kind of in the same vein as I found this iOS developer. It's just it's been difficult to find somebody who could take our vision and ideas and get us in the direction that we're going right now. So we're using platforms that are low code, no code right now. It's not ideal, but what we're trying to do is replicate the process through our website as an intermediary to getting on Android as well, because we're going to have to find a whole other developer or development team to get on there. And we're bootstrapping right now, so it's we have to be very miserly and very calculating with how we invest. So we're trying to use that as kind of our middle ground right now. But we so as far as strategic partnerships, so I've been very blessed with being introduced to you. And that's been just a godsend because of the just incredible advice that you have, the experience that you have, and just your ability to communicate, pretty complicated legal concepts, and your patience with me, most of all, I think is key. But also, fortunate to be linked up with very good accountants and other advisors who are out there. I won't name drop right here, but I think you know some of them. But yeah, have been critical to bouncing ideas off of, getting advice from, briefing periodically and getting good solid feedback from to help direct the direction that we're going. Um, all that's been excellent. But one of the things that we're working on right now, we have the platform, we have the idea. We're past MVP stage, we're on traction stage. So what we're trying to do is really get the word out there. And thank you for having us on here. And hopefully this will help do that. But yeah, just getting the idea, getting the concept out there, because everybody that we speak with about this is kind of a north-south nod, thinks, yeah, that makes sense. Like, that's something that we need. We've got the capacity out there. It's being wasted every single day. Why not leverage it? So everybody seems to be in agreement that it's a good idea. We just need to get people out there using it and get that traction so that we can show investors that, hey, this is something that can be worthwhile and investable, and then move to the next stages to where we can scale. And along with that, we have some other, ideas along the way, particularly partnerships with businesses that have shipping needs, specific shipping needs, especially kind of that last miles piece of their business to make their business more marketable and expand their market. So that's kind of what we're working on now, to get that shipping, that demand side down so that we can get the supply built up and have both sides working together. So it's been a challenge with the two-sided market throughout this process. It's my first startup, so I'm just learning about it, but it was kind of a tough market situation to jump into.
Yeah, and you and I have talked in the past about that two-sided market and really conquering that. But one thing I love that I heard you say without saying is that adaptability. You're really, feeling the market. You're feeling the partners. You're really kind of trying to figure out where Krsor fits into, the economy, and you're not pigeonholing yourself into this is only what we're going to be. Facebook started out as connecting college students, and that was it.
Right.
Hyper focused, and
Yep.
now they're one of the largest companies in the world. So I love
Exactly.
that. So I want to get into pitching. Have you had the opportunity to pitch yet?
Yes. As I mentioned, being a part of the entrepreneurship track at Keenan Flagler, and those classes were built around, even if it was a startup that you weren't planning on starting up, it was a concept. It was just going through the motions of building it, ideating about it, learning about money and investment, things like that. But also it was pitching. The final day of that program, we did a round robin pitch where we just pitched over and over and over, and we practiced it with coaches and mentors up before then. So very valuable experience very early on in the idea. But as I also mentioned, being a part of Launch Chapel Hill was another opportunity to do just that, just expanding the idea, increasing it, increasing the network. So in other, opportunities that have stemmed from that. But one thing that's my weakness, right, is, even though I was in the military for a long time and briefed a lot, I'm still not super comfortable with pitching. So my plan and my idea has been to find every opportunity to do it, even if it's horrible. I'm going to sweat through my shirt. It's going to suck, but I need to do it so that I can strengthen that muscle, because it's a critical thing in this world. So yeah, that's my another thing that I'm one of the avenues that I'm going down is trying to pitch more often.
You and I have similar energies when it comes to just doing it. Unfortunately, Nike trademarked that, decades ago. But if
Beat us to it.
it was still available, that'd be my mindset as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so, from a granular standpoint, do you have any advice to people listening? I've got some advice out there, but I'm curious from your standpoint. I love that you said practice as much as you can. Any other advice when it comes to pitching?
Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest thing. Is it's also getting diverse feedback on your pitch deck and on your idea, because something that your experience, you've experienced some very specific things, but somebody else has had a very different experience, is going to look at it from a very different perspective and might know of something, a competitor that's out there, or might know about see a hole that you haven't thought about, that you need to either shore up or, consider whether or not you should proceed. So I would say, find people from diverse backgrounds to pick it apart, and try not, or just be thick skinned, understand that you're gonna fail. Investors are gonna say no. People are gonna, doubt you. But just continue to get that feedback and continue to push forward. But actually, probably the biggest thing is to listen to your gut. If this is the thing that burns a fire inside of you, uh, go for it with all the fervor inside of you, and don't listen to naysayers, because they're always going to be there, no matter how good or bad the idea is.
Man, that's a clip right there. That's a way to end it. That's I love that. A question that I ask everyone on the podcast. I'm a big golfer. Whether you knew that or not, I'm not sure. But I ask people, what is an eagle in their life? And an eagle, of course, with par for the course, it's pretty standard. We're good with par, but it's not great. Birdies are a little bit better. The birdies are attainable, but eagles are foreign. Most golfers don't have eagles. You see an eagle once in your lifetime, but that is beyond exceptional. That's tremendous. What does an eagle look like for Krsor over the next year?
I think an eagle for Krsor is finding our first investors. And it's, yes, it's attainable, but in this market, as I'm sure it's becoming much more difficult to obtain. It's not 2020, 2021, where money was flowing a lot more freely. So yeah, I think for us, an exceptional thing would be to get the traction that we're looking for, or not, potentially as much as we could, and to, get somebody who's a true believer, and to be a true partner with us, to believe in us, and to help us get to the next level.
Awesome. Joe, I appreciate you being on here. How would you prefer people getting involved with Krsor? Checking out the app, what platforms, website? Let us know that.
Yeah, appreciate that. So www.krsor.com. Again, that's KRSOR.com. You can reach us through there. We are on Instagram. We have a pretty good presence on Instagram. So that's Krsor _ LLC. And then we also, you can always reach out to me, Joe at Krsor.com, and Facebook as well. We're on Facebook. So yeah, any of those ways.
Awesome.
But if you Google us, there's only one KRSOR out there, so you'll find it.
That's awesome. Joe, thank you for being here, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, Sean. Again, always good to work with you.
Of course.